Bonsoir mesdames et messieurs, je suis votre présentatrice Agathe. Aujourd'hui nous sommes le 6 décembre 2007 et c'est la 17e épisode de Chess Now. Mesdames et messieurs, comme la dernière fois, j'ai dans ce plateau ce soir Greg et Jeffrey qui vont jouer en direct avec nous. Thank you for tuning in into Chess Now. Today, December 6, 2007. The interactive TV show where you can play and analyze chess. A special hello to our viewers. We broadcast 2,000 of cable viewers in Manhattan, New York, and we encourage you to stream a live feed of our show too. To do so, simply visit us at mnn.org when our programming is scheduled every 2 weeks on Thursday evenings. Call us through the internet. Please visit our homepage at fractal.interva.com/chessnow. To show your support, go on YouTube by clicking on subscribe. Let's watch a real-time chess game for a few minutes while we wait for our first callers. And the number to call today is 212-757-1483. And let's go to the board. And thank you. We have today, you know them already. Greg and Jeffrey are here tonight. Hi guys, how you doing?
Good, how you doing, Agatha?
Thank you for coming again.
Thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure to have you here. So you guys know Jeffrey and Greg, they're gonna play live tonight. And as we said 4 weeks ago, the winner tonight will come back in 2 weeks and play with one of you. So I encourage you to call tonight at 212-757-1483. So you guys are ready?
Yes, we are.
So what did you think of the last show?
I thought it went well, actually.
Really? Did you have some crazy people on the street?
Actually, no, I'm not that famous yet, no. But hopefully in the future, some crazy people on the street
Right.
will recognize me.
Some ladies?
Potentially. Potentially.
So while we're waiting for a caller, and before we play, Greg wanted to show you this position.
Yeah, if people at home watching remember last week we looked at a World Championship game between Kasparov and Karpov, and it was a Nimzo-Indian game with a fatal blunder made by Karpov, the then world champion. Here is a similar game. We have an end game, which is actually from the first game of the match between Spassky and Fischer in 1972 for the World Championship. Fischer has the black pieces, and Spassky has the white pieces. These are white, these are black. I just want to make that clear so everyone can see. And Fischer has the black pieces, and Spassky has the white pieces, obviously. And again, this is a Nimzo-Indian game in keeping with our theme. And again, there is a fatal blunder made by a world champion, which it should have been, let's say, more carefully calculated over the board. So this is the position on move 29.
Before we make the next move, what we do want to note is that this is a drawish endgame. It is it's fairly close. There's no passed pawns. Each side has a bishop, but they're bishops of the same color. So we're looking at the first game of the 1972 World Championship between Spassky and Fischer, and it's not a very exciting first game.
No, that's exactly right. I meant to mention that. This is clearly a draw at this point. Equal pawns on both sides, no passers, and same color bishops. White's king is maybe a little bit more active, but it's obviously a draw. But Fischer didn't want a draw against Spassky in the first game, and so he wanted to throw the game into an unbalanced kind of dynamic position. And so the 29th move that he plays is bishop captures h2, which, if we were to set out a general principle, let's say for the amateur, a bishop should never capture a wing pawn when it's on its home rank with other pawns, because obviously if we just play g3 here, the bishop is trapped and lost. This is something that a 1400 player would recognize immediately. And so when we see it in a Grandmaster game, it's something to really sort of look at closely. What was Fischer thinking? Obviously, Spassky's next move is g3, trapping the bishop. And at this point,
Fischer's hoping to attack the weakness and liberate his bishop at the same time, so he pushes his wing pawn.
Fischer was maybe mistakenly under the impression that he could push the rook pawn down the h-file and liberate the bishop. Clearly this is incorrect, though, because the king will get there one move, let's say, too soon, or just in the nick of time, depending on who you're cheering for. In any case, the king comes to e2, looking to step around. Fischer here does push the pawn. The king now steps to king bishop 3 or f3. And here, Fischer, probably realizing he's lost, plays king to e7. And now the king steps back around. And clearly the bishop is lost. I don't know. The game goes on for another maybe 15 moves. But from here on out, Fischer is playing a lost ending, which should have been half a point. It should have been a draw. This is
And he did go on to lose this first game.
He did go on to lose this first game. He did. He resigned the ending. It's kind of a tragedy, on the one hand, but on the other hand, it's reflective of Bobby Fischer's personality, because he was so arrogant going into this match that he couldn't stomach losing the first match.
Or even drawing.
Yeah, he couldn't
yeah.
stomach drawing the world champion. And so this is the end of the first game. And the second game, actually, he didn't even show up to play, and he lost by default. His reasons were something with he didn't want the video cameras so close to the board because he could hear the clicking of the film.
Okay, guys, I'm sorry. I've been sitting here all night and listening. You sound like you know what you're talking about. And I hope you guys are listening carefully, because Greg and Jeffrey are really professional chess players. But I invite you to call tonight. The number again is 212-757-1483. And if you have any question about chess, if you don't know how to play chess, it's the night tonight. You can call and ask questions to either Jeffrey or Jeff, okay? So pick up your phone and dial the number 212-757-1483. And if you have some question for me also, feel free to take your phone and call, all right?
Have we had any callers yet, Agatha?
No callers yet.
All right, we are about to start. Real quick, I want to show a practical position. The thing is, in our last game that we were showing you, Fischer was doing everything he could to get a passed pawn. And the question is, how does one obtain a passed pawn in a game? This is a very common endgame position where you have the king set up, and you have 3 pawns staring each other down. And many people feel like we're completely even, and there's no way to get an advantage here. You know, I push, you push, I take, you take, and we end up having locked pawns, no passer, no advantage. There is one way that you can always achieve a passed pawn in this situation. If black is to move, you always push the center pawn. At this point, if white does not take the center pawn with one of the pawns, black takes back and has a passer. So white is forced to take. White can take either side, go ahead. Whichever side white takes with, you take from the opposite side. I'm sorry, you push from the opposite side. Thank you.
You sure?
Yeah, no, you push.
Don't get me confused, because I'm listening.
I agree, I'm sorry. You push the center, white or the opponent takes from either side, you push.
Okay.
At this point now, the opponent either takes, and it looks like he's completely won, but now you
Right.
slide past and you don't take. And if white doesn't take, then you take here and you're passed.
So one more time quickly.
One more time quickly, because I'm sorry. I
hope you're watching.
Screwed that up. In this position, who's ever closer, white could get a passed pawn as well, but white doesn't want to. It's too far away. So
Okay.
black pushes in the center. White takes from either side. You push, takes, and you push, and you get your passed pawn. So that is the way to obtain a passed pawn in that position. Now let's, shall we play a game, sir?
Well, actually, there was one other endgame trick I was thinking of in terms of the threat of a passed pawn. Normally, a rook versus a lone king with a pawn should always be a win. There are times, however, when the rook would have to be sacked for the pawn. For instance, let's look at this position right here. Well, if we were to bring it further up, the rook can check the king endlessly, and the king will have to step around, say check, step around, check, step around, check, step around. Eventually, though, it's going to be a draw, because the king is so far advanced with the pawn that the threat of the pawn racing down the board to queen means that, this color will have to check endlessly. However, if the pawn is not past the 5th rank, so let's say this is the 5th rank. If the pawn and the king are behind the 5th rank, the rook can restrict the pawn while the king advances down the board. But let's say black advances the pawn. You make a king move. He advances the pawn. The rook will keep the king back so that as the pawn comes down the board, let's say the king move, pawn comes down one more time, and now you can threaten the pawn, and the king is too far away to capture. So if the king moves, you capture the pawn, and it's an obvious win. If he doesn't move, if he pushes one more time, the rook slides behind, and now the pawn is captured. And this ending, rook versus lone king, is an easy checkmate, which we should probably also show because it's elementary, but it's the kind of thing that you could maybe mess up or take forever, or if you take more than 50 moves, it's a draw. So in this position, let's say capture a pawn with the king to move, let's say the king moves back.
Sure, king steps back.
Okay, guys, I hope you're listening.
Here-
And I don't know if you pay attention, you should look at Greg's fingers, the way he's picking up the chess, like a real professional chess player. I don't know if I can do that, but it's amazing.
Let's say the rook restricts the king so that the king is not allowed to leave this box. Now, black will burn a move.
Yep.
Do we have
will
Do we
move
have a
here.
caller? Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
How are you?
Oh, I'm all right.
Thank you for calling. Welcome to the show, Chess Now.
This is huge.
It's your first time calling us?
Yes.
Oh wow, you sound like you're excited to be on the
Oh my
show.
God, I'm so excited.
All right, do you have a question for Greg or Jeffrey about chess or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
What is your
I was
question?
wondering-
Uh-huh.
I was wondering, how long have those two people been playing chess?
How long you've been playing chess, guy?
Well, I've known how the pieces move, and I've known how to play probably my whole life, but I've only been studying the game seriously for maybe a year and a half, something like that.
And I've probably only been studying seriously for the past
Amazing.
4 to 5 months. Though really, I have to say, you can pick up chess and even this level of play fairly quickly, because as much as I appreciate Agatha calling us professionals, I don't want anyone in the audience to make the mistake of thinking that either Greg or I are a chess professional.
Complete amateur.
You guys are professionals.
They're professional, right?
You guys are professionals.
How long you've been playing chess?
Me?
Yes.
17 years.
Oh, so you're a professional one too.
Oh, yes.
What's your name again? I forgot.
My name is Brian.
Van.
Oh, my name is Brian.
All right, Van. Thank you for calling. I wish you a great night.
All right.
Feel free to call us anytime.
Thank you very much.
All right. Good night. Thank you.
Do you want to demonstrate how to mate with the rook on the open board as quickly as possible?
Sure. In this position, you play on this side, because if black steps here, you immediately have what's called the opposition, and you're able to bring the rook down. The king is restricted. He cannot move forward or to the side because of the king here. This rook owns the file, so he has to step back. And now you're going to repeat the process. Go ahead, sir.
Well, to repeat the process, the king steps up, let's say taking opposition once more, but it's not actually opposition because it's black to move.
Yep.
So, the king moves, let's say, and now we,
In this case, you chase it.
well, I can chase him to the end
Oh,
of the board.
no, I'm sorry.
Or
Yeah,
it's actually
no,
would
yeah,
be better to burn
one.
the
Right,
rook move
because
there.
otherwise, if he chases here,
Come
I
back.
come back, and then so on and so forth.
So
then you're completely
with
correct.
the king there and the rook here, we burn one move, so that it's black to move again.
with two options: either stepping here, immediate mate, or bringing it one back.
All right, guys. I just need 1 minute. I want to talk about the PS70 chess student. So this week there was some controversy about a school chess team in the Bronx, PS70. The Bronx Bombers, as the team is called, was headed to a national competition in Texas but due to a school administration issue, it almost didn't happen. More details are at ps70chessnow.blogspot.com. But as we understand, these kids are now on their way to the tournament today. So good luck to the Bronx Bombers. It was important, right? It's about chess, so we have to talk. So guys, good luck.
Absolutely, good luck to the Bronx Bombers. I think it was white to move.
White to move.
And so the king chases.
Same thing, once again, I either step into the mating square or I'm forced into the corner.
And now once more the king gives chase.
And now the only square left is the mating square.
And now this is the mating position that is instructive for the endgame. This is the ideal mate with the rook and the king on the open board that you could achieve. I think it should happen in 15 moves or less, I think, if you were to do it in the most precise way. But, so that's an instructive endgame thing. I think another instructive endgame thing that we could look at is in terms of taking the opposition with a pawn on the board, the pawn versus the king on the open board. Let's say, well, to make it less confusing, let's say this is the setup, these are the black pieces, this is the white king, and the pawn is advancing this way down the board with white to move, with black to move. So if it's black to move, what black is looking to do is to take the opposition against the white king. And so he wants to get the king in front of the pawn. It's foolhardy to race the pawn with the king next to it because ultimately it's a drawn position, which is what we'll show first. So let's say the king steps up, and the king, let's say, steps over. Let's say the pawn steps up, and let's say the king steps up. King steps up, king back, king forward, and now white has the opposition. So let's say, all right, king over, but here...
Guys, I'm sorry. Just finish. I have something to tell you.
Oh, okay.
Finish whatever you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
I'll race forward and say that when you get to this position right here, with with black to move, if black backs away, then white wins the pawn and it's a draw. But if black plays this move, then the king is stalemated because it can't step here and it can't step there, can't step here and it can't step there. And so once you reach this position, it's a draw no matter what. And so if you have the extra pawn, ideally what you'd like to see is this position, where with white to move, you steal the opposition no matter what. Because if white goes this way, you come this way, and then the pawn has an alley.
To simplify, and
okay.
Go ahead. Just very quickly, is that in a position like this, you want to keep this king in front of the pawn at all times, and anytime the king comes out here, you want to keep your king in front of the king or the pawn at all times.
Okay, guys.
Yep.
I know what's quickly for you is, but you can. We can finish that later on if you want.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna talk about chess, monster chess. So you can set up a monster chess.
I have no idea what monster chess is.
Okay, then. You never heard about it?
This is the chess variant. It's like
it's what the
Yes.
the Bronx Bombers are doing. But,
oh really? Okay,
yeah.
I have no idea what monster
I have
chess
not
is.
actually played monster chess myself. I
Okay.
apologize.
But I'm very curious.
Yeah.
All right, so just listen.
Okay.
All right, guys. Monster chess is a chess variant where the white side has just 4 pawns and the king competing against all black pieces. The rules are the same as regular chess, except the white side, which has fewer pieces, is now allowed to make 2 moves at the time. For more info, see at wiki.org/wiki/monster-chess.
You want to try?
You got it? You want to try that?
We could try. That's
said
amazing.
It's not too hard for you guys.
get
I know
4
you want to figure that
4
out
pawns and a
pretty quick.
and a king.
When you say all black pieces, does that mean pawns also?
Or just
Yes.
pieces?
Yes, pawns too.
Yes.
Wow.
I wonder. Yeah, that is curious. Excuse me. All right. And you get to make 2 moves a turn every turn, huh?
I think my first.
All right, guys.
my first-
I only had 1 caller tonight. 1? Yeah, 1. What's happening? You don't love us anymore? You need to call and play chess. 212-757-1483.
No, there's
Pick
no
up
way.
your phone
It
and
can't
call.
be done. I think
You
it's
only
gotta
have
be just pieces, no pawns, because otherwise
less than 10 minutes to
yeah.
call, actually. So it's now or never, or in 2 weeks. So what you guys doing now?
Well, we were looking at Monster Chess. I think we decided it has to be only the pieces, not the pawns, because
Because pawns are not typically referred to as pieces. By
Well,
the
that's-
way.
that's
pawns
true,
are
yeah.
pawns, and these are pieces.
But having said that, it's still, if my first move would be to tip my king. I have no idea
Now
how.
I got you thinking.
I have no idea
like
how
that.
this works. I would definitely have to look at it online.
So guys, you can call
Yeah.
because actually Jeffrey and Greg,
Should we just
our
start a
professional
classic
chess
Nimzo
player,
in it?
are
All right.
kind of lost now.
We're not lost. We're lost with Monster Chess. We're about to start now a traditional
All
proper
right.
chess game.
All right, go ahead.
Next time we come, we will have looked up Monster Chess for
All
sure.
right.
And in the meantime, if anyone calls and with a move, that'll be great. Greg starts it off.
So Jeffrey and Greg are starting a new game right now.
It's 1d4.
So just watch, and if you have any suggestions, any comment, any questions, call at 212-757-1483.
1d4, 2 nf6. c4, e6, nc3, and bishop b4. This is the classic Nimzo Indian. This is it.
I play 4 QC2. The reason behind this, as explained in the last show, is to avoid the double pawns.
I castle at this point. Experience has taught me against Greg that it's best to castle at this point.
This is probably premature. This pawn, this bishop pin, actually.
It's so odd to see these pieces.
So what move are you gonna make now?
What am I going to make? I'm going to push the b pawn, b6, and I'm going to bring my bishop over and fianchetto on the queen side.
Okay.
And my next turn.
Typically, when black plays b6, white should play f3 to cut down on the diagonal. And this is the pawn structure that white is trying to achieve. But I'm going to prematurely break 2 rules and play nh3, bringing my knight to the rim, so that if this pawn advances, I can sacrifice the knight for 2 pawns, maintaining this pin and hopefully advancing this pawn to win the knight back.
So now Jeffrey, with his move, what's your next move?
There's no hurry for me to fianchetto, and I'm still going to fianchetto. I'm going to lift the d pawn and cover e4. Because his knight is still pinned by my bishop here, while he can take my pawn here, when I take back, I'm sorry, what? Yeah, but I'm saying when I take back with the pawn. You thought it was pawn.
Oh,
I'm
yes,
not
yes,
taking back
yes.
with the knight. No, when he takes this pawn, I take back with this. But he can't bring this knight around, gaining a pawn advantage and putting extra pressure here because his knight is still pinned.
Exactly. I am, however, going to take this pawn. And now I'm going to play the move I talked about earlier. The reason I'm happy to take that pawn is because now if I, let's say, play a3 to chase the bishop and the bishop takes the knight, bishops are marginally stronger than knights or marginally better than knights in the opening. So that's a minor advantage. And when he takes, rather than recapturing with my queen, now I recapture with the b pawn, connecting, and I have a larger center.
At this point, I take his knight, give him doubled pawns on the H file. One of the worst places to have doubled pawns ever is on either wing.
This is, however, a double-edged sword, let's say, because while it is doubled pawns, which, as we all know, is a weakness, it's also an open file directly pointed at his castled king,
Yep.
which is where I have this pressure also. So when the rook steps over, there's going to be, let's say, attacking chances, but it's definitely imbalanced.
All right, guys, while you keep playing, I'm just gonna say something to our viewers. So thank you guys for watching Chess Now. Be sure to see our early video on YouTube and read on how to be a part of the live show. Just do like Greg and Jeffrey. See you next time, and thank you. Keep watching. We're still here.
while we play and as we finish up, I did want to mention that we are in the holiday season, as I'm certain everyone is aware. And some of you out there may have a beginning chess player in your life, and you're wondering what to get them. Clearly, a nice board or pieces is never out of line, but if you were choosing to get them a book, what book? If you've gone to any bookstore, the number of chess books out there on opening, general tactics, strategy, there are a lot to choose from. The book I'd like to highly recommend at this point is Chess Fundamentals by Jose Capablanca. He
I
was
don't know if they can see it.
I'm not sure if they can.
Can you zoom in?
Yep.
Uh-oh.
That's all right. Chess Fundamentals by Jose Capablanca. He was one of the early world champions. The version
Okay.
I have with the McKay Chess Library was revised by Nick DeFermian, who is also the author of Modern Chess Openings. It's a very clear, concise guide for beginners. It covers openings, mid-game, and endgame. So,
Okay, guys, so from what we see now, who's winning?
Well, it's an unclear position.
have you made your?
I want a winner.
I recaptured.
Yep. I brought my. You pushed. I brought the bishop
Oh,
back.
rook over.
I'm sorry, rook over.
Yeah.
Bye, guys. Guys?
Bye.
Have a good evening.